pleasure to talk to you today about this important topic. In the first of this four-part series, I'll outline the key component parts of cardiac syncope, an overview, what you need to know. You'll be aware that syncope in general is defined as a transient loss of consciousness followed by immediate recovery. And you'll also be aware that there are a wide variety of causes of syncope. However, the causes that are due to cardiac disease are disproportionately more life-threatening, therefore require specific investigations and specific treatments to address them properly. The purpose of this talk is to bring these to your attention. It can be notoriously difficult to identify the cause of syncope in patients when they present. When those patients present due to a cardiac cause, it becomes all the more important to identify why this is happening. There are two main reasons for this. One, their prognosis is poor. Cardiac syncope patients have a poor prognosis compared to other forms of syncope. And the second thing is that there are specific treatments that can mitigate this. You can implant a pacemaker for someone with heart block. You can start somebody on antiarrhythmic drugs for an SVT. You can implant a defibrillator at those at risk of dangerous ventricular tachyarrhythmias, or you can start people on heart failure medicines or refer them for valve surgery if needed. These things can reverse or at least mitigate the process. This is part one of a four-part series. In part two, we'll talk about structural causes of cardiac syncope, and in parts 3 and 4, we'll discuss arrhythmic causes of cardiac syncope. Many have sought to devise a structured approach to transient loss of consciousness and its investigations, diagnosis, and management. This is one such example from the American Heart Association. And as you can see, that diagnosis and specific management is expected when it comes to cardiac syncope. And this is in line with our previous point that cardiac syncope confers a poor prognosis and requires very different treatments depending on what the cause is. So in trying to assess a patient with undifferentiated syncope, one useful heuristic would be to dichotomize the features of cardiac versus non-cardiac syncope. So what might you expect from a patient with cardiac syncope? Well, palpitations, particularly if they're prolonged and they precede the syncope, and they're in isolation. Exertion can reveal a structural abnormality like aortic stenosis. Syncope, while supine, can suggest cardiac syncope. Known cardiac disease greatly increases the chance of cardiac syncope, and conversely, the absence of cardiac disease makes it unlikely. Family history of sudden cardiac disease, given that it's inheritable, can make an inherited cause, often an inherited arrhythmic cause, of syncope likely. Cardiac causes of syncope often lack a prodrome, and as such, patients, when they lose consciousness, have unprotected facial injuries. After they have syncope, they may feel completely normal with no fatigue, nausea, or diaphoresis, which you may expect, for example, in vasovagal syncope. In contrast, non-cardiac syncope often has a prodrome, often has a trigger, and often has symptoms afterwards, such as somnolence, nausea, diaphoresis, or fatigue. Taking a history and performing a physical examination is required in the initial evaluation of patients in nearly every branch of medicine. When it comes to syncope, however, an ECG is equally important. It can be done very quickly at the bedside, it's objective, and it provides a vast amount of information about the electrical system of the heart, which, if abnormal, can have very serious consequences for the patient. Many attempts have been made to identify those patients who are presenting with syncope, of having cardiac syncope. These are two such examples, the Canadian Syncope Rule and the Evaluation of Guidelines in Syncope Study. They both seek to identify salient points in the presentation of the patient, and after performing a calculation, they give you a risk score. and you can make decisions based on that. However, these scoring systems and others like them have not been well validated and should not be routinely used. Should be considered only an adjunct rather than a replacement to good clinical evaluation. When a patient presents, they may say that they are aware of their heart beating. That is, they are said to be experiencing palpitations. So what exactly is happening at this time? Well, without an ECG, we cannot know. Palpitations can range from being completely normal, suggesting nothing wrong with the heart, to the other end of the spectrum where it can suggest something rather more serious. If we were to look at this ECG, we might say this patient has ventricular bigeminy. But if we do further recording, we might get a different picture. As you can see, this patient was actually having runs of non-sustained polymorphic VT, something which is quite a lot more serious than ventricular bigeminy. This patient could have gone on to receive a defibrillator, especially if they presented with syncope. As you can see, palpitations alone doesn't tell you very much unless it is associated with an abnormal rhythm. This is what we call symptom-rhythm correlation, and we seek to try and identify this where we think it is present, because it very much changes the course of management. In addition to a history and physical exam, all syncope patients require an evaluation of their heart rhythm. This can often be done with an ECG or a repeat ECG, but we'll often need a period of longer observation. Here are some of the tools that can achieve that. On the top left, we have a Holter monitor, which uses standard ECG electrodes and records them to this device. And this can be worn for periods of 24 hours up to a month, depending on what your service or your hospital can provide. There are patch monitors, which can be stuck on and are waterproof and can be forgotten about, essentially. Then there are event recorders, which require patients to stick ECG leads on themselves and press record when they feel palpitations, when they think they might be having an arrhythmic event. So it requires a high level of patient interaction. And then there are implantable loop recorders, which are very small and placed in the front of the chest and can record heart rhythms for up to 3 years. After initial evaluation, further investigations may be required. In the top right, we see a transthoracic echocardiogram, an ultrasound of the heart, and this provides good information about the pumping function, the ejection fraction of the heart, as well as how well the valves work. An MRI can provide this information also, but gives further characterization of the tissue. It tells you about cardiomyopathies, diseases of the muscle of the heart. Is it from a heart attack? Is it from myocarditis? It can help you identify these things. Invasive testing may be required. This is an electrophysiology study which looks at the electrical properties of the heart. And after all this, you may require implantation of a pacemaker or a defibrillator or have a new valve placed.
Following initial assessment of a patient with syncope, after history and physical and an ECG, a decision needs to be made whether you're going to discharge or admit this patient or what tests need to be done. And do those tests need to occur as an inpatient or an outpatient? So for the heart rhythm monitoring, you might consider doing a repeat ECG or a Holter monitor or admit them to a telemetry unit, potentially under cardiology, to look for any ongoing arrhythmias. If you hear a murmur, you should consider doing an echo. And if you hear a murmur in the context of syncope, then an inpatient echo may be warranted. If cardiac syncope is high in your differentials, then I think it's more than reasonable to refer to cardiology, and they can do ongoing tests such as treadmill tests, cardiac MRIs, and perform procedures such as implanting a pacemaker or a defibrillator. In the next part, we'll start looking at some of the details around structural causes of cardiac syncope. See you then.